And we're live. Welcome to the sixth installment of the weekly Sayonara Punk Podcast. We are live, so please bear with us if we encounter any technical difficulties. It is not as easy as we make it look. And this week, our guest is Josh Teal again, one of my good friends.
What's good?
And we're just gonna generally just shoot the shit this week. We're gonna talk about movies, shows, games that we've been encountering out in the world, and just kind of talk through what we've been finding to be entertaining. Um, oh, the first time you were on, I don't think we went through something that we've kind of established with the other guests, and that's what's your earliest childhood memory of any sort of media? Like as young as you can remember, what's the first thing you remember seeing of that psychedelic imagery brought on through movies or television or games or anything?
Oh man. I I'd have to say I was big into watching beta. Like we had a beta player and I had we had a beta player that could record no less. Like so it was actually it's a pretty big deal. But I think the first thing I watched was I had a Thundercats beta that basically I played it so many times it broke the damn beta player, okay? Let's put it that way. And
Schnarf, Lion-O.
I got in trouble for it too, but, um, I can tell you, like, vividly, I remember going and picking up, the Nintendo Entertainment System for sure, like, that was another big thing. I was probably 4 years old, maybe 5, probably 5, and, my dad was like one night we were just sitting around watching TV and he's like, let's go to Toys R Us just to look, and then we went to Toys R Us and then we walked in and he goes and he he walks all the way to the end and we go to the entertainment center and you see the new Nintendo Entertainment System or whatever and it's popped on the wall and he grabs it off the wall and me and my sister are just freaking out and we're jumping up and down and it was like wow, we're getting one of these things. I mean, what were they were like $200 back then, I think. Back in the 80s that was a lot of money. So it was it was pretty awesome though, like, when we got it, it was just like this amazing moment. It was like the beginning of the end, I guess you could say, because ever since then, I've been a gamer,
Well,
and I
nothing
mean
was ever more hype than that, right? Like as a little
right.
kid, I don't even know if kids get that hype for anything these days because there's so
Well,
much different media, and there's it's hard to for something to stand out as special in the sea of everything.
right, but not even that, like, so that wasn't the first thing. Like, my dad actually had a Pong system. I don't think I ever played it, but we did have we had an Atari. The Atari, like, what was it, 1500 or something? The wooden Atari. I still have it to this day. It's actually at my mom's house, so I have to go pick it up. But like, we played like, uh, was it Brick Breaker or whatever? I don't even remember the name. Breakout, I think the name was the game. Barnstorming, Centipede, obviously, and like some other stuff. It's just so crazy. Like, and then you go from that to the Nintendo Entertainment System. You're just like, it was incredible. Like, it was absolutely an amazing, experience, and I'll never forget it all my life. Like, and to this day, I'm a gamer. I still play games. I still, take time out of the day. When the lady's not home, maybe jump on, play a couple laps of GTA, like Gran Turismo, or you know, even sometimes we get into Elden Ring or something. I'd love to get back into that. Play some RPGs and shit. But yeah, like that's probably the earliest memory for me is the Thundercats beta and then also the NES, hands down. Like
And it's weird how those images are burned into your brain of that just 8-bit pixels, colored
seriously.
pixels on the screen. It was such a such an important thing when you saw those things at an early
Right,
age. And we
right,
really are the first generation ever in the history of the world to have that sort of imagery
exactly.
associated with you at such a young age.
Yeah,
And there's something important about it that, exactly as you said, it changed the way your brain was, where you're a gamer for life just from playing Barnstorming and Centipede. I remember my dad went back to college when he was older, and I would go with him sometimes, and there was nothing to do, so he would just set me up on one of the computers in the lab to play Centipede, and I would just play Centipede for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's such a simple game, but as a kid, it was so exciting. It was like, "Oh, we're going to the computer with Centipede on it. Holy shit." Uh, like, so much fun. And Thundercats is another weird one too because and also so a couple other people said that they had betas as well. We
yeah,
never had a beta, but and I thought you would be the only one, but beta
no.
households out there. Uh, Thundercats is a really weird one because I was hype on Thundercats too as a kid. I loved the whole sword transforming aspect
Oh,
of
yeah,
it was the jam.
yeah.
And when you go back and watch it now, it's super weird. Like if you watch Thundercats now, it's a very strange watch. It's They stop the show at multiple points and go through morals, like, they teach you a moral in the middle of the show.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, they have, like, whole segments like, "This is why you never do this," or whatever,
yeah.
and everyone's wearing these, banana hammock, and it's just very odd show in hindsight. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of us jammed out to Thundercats.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Definitely
yeah,
a good one.
yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
Moomra too. The transformation of Moomra was always awesome
Dude, that
too.
was the best. That
Yeah,
was
when he'd
absolutely the best.
spin, yeah,
Yeah. How
spin and all.
he was, like, all, like, old and decrepit, and he's like, "Grr," and then all of a sudden he's like, "Grr," gets all, like, big build, you're just like, "Wait a minute, how did he just, like, come from, like, this little tiny guy to this massive dude?" You know?
Yeah, and you'd spin
That's dope.
around and all the bandages would
Yep.
unfurl and everything.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was awesome.
Some of
So
the greatest animation.
so what's the first thing you binge watched constantly over and over and over? 'Cause, also that was something that was kind of a unique to our generation where we didn't have that much media at our disposal.
Yeah.
So, usually as a kid, you would latch on to one thing and just binge it over and over.
Oh, man. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has to be, I mean, I'm pretty sure the movie, I watched that movie I don't know how many times, and then, like, Turtles 2 came out, and I'm pretty sure I binge watched that, but, like, as far as TV shows, like cartoons, uh, X-Men, maybe? I did X-Men all the time, like, the X-Men cartoon, like, that was a big one. I know my cousin and I, anytime, like, I'd come over to his house or whatever for the weekend, he would always have every single X-Men recorded for that week, and we'd watch it. So it was like, and then, like, even then, we would go back and watch old episodes as well, and, like, then try to draw the characters and stuff, on screen, and, uh, yeah, I would have to say X-Men was one of the big ones, and obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, Turtles was huge.
That's another thing for the young kids that have no idea about. So, with a VHS tape and the VHS player, you could put in a blank VHS and record whatever. If you It was a nightmare to get it hooked up to your TV properly too, to actually
Oh,
do
yeah.
the recording.
Absolutely.
But you could record, but VHS tapes were pretty expensive at the time, so you would record over and over the
Yep.
same VHS, but the quality would degrade over time. So the more times you re-recorded over the same thing, the worse
Yeah.
the quality would get.
Yep.
So you'd have these really bad recordings, but it didn't matter. You would still just watch over and over whatever is on that VHS.
Yeah.
Uh, and also, there was a big thing about renting a VHS. So if you had some money, you had a VHS player that had two slots in it, where you could put in two VHS tapes and record whatever the other one was playing.
Yep.
So you would rent a VHS and then record it, which was
Blockbuster,
high.
baby.
Yeah,
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. It's highly illegal though. Like there was the FBI warning
Oh my
before
gosh.
every movie, don't you copy this on
Don't you
VHS.
dare do this. But I'll tell you
Yeah,
what, every single
everyone
time,
did.
if you look at it though, under the privacies, like that you got to understand that the privacy says do not record and redistribute. It never said anything about recording it and keeping it for your own personal use. However, they did say that if you had like say you owned a copy of the movie and you recorded it, you could legally keep it that way. That was not a problem. They have a backup of it.
Yeah,
So,
loophole for the win.
exactly. Exactly.
They took off the little tab on him, and he had to fill in the area to record. Yeah, the rentals, you took off the tab, remember? And you'd have to fill in that tab to actually record because 'cause they'd break it off so
Yep.
you couldn't
Yep.
record it.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Uh, yep. Some
Oh,
Gen X history for all the youngins out there.
hey,
Uh,
don't forget, man, you used to be able to get movies from, like, Burger King and stuff, like, they used to sell movies at Burger King,
oh,
you pick
yeah, I
them up.
forgot about that. You
One
could
of the best ones, Batman. I got Batman from Burger King.
which Batman? The cartoon
First
or
no, the
oh
first one,
the
Michael
Tim
Keaton.
Burton, Michael Keaton Batman you got it at Burger King?
Pretty sure that's where we got it. Maybe I'm thinking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we got Batman at Blockbuster or Video Connection. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, another one, Video Connection.
Yeah, so if we're gonna stay in, like, a millennial Gen X land for a minute too,
Yeah,
at those McDonald's and Burger Kings, you used to be able to get collectible glass pints for advertising
everything.
seasons, for
Yeah,
holidays, for the Olympics. They would like full glassware that you could
beautiful
collect at
too. Oh my
yeah,
god.
you could collect at McDonald's. I'm sure that there's all over the collectible market for that kind of
Oh
weird
god,
stuff.
yeah. Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, special runs of toys too, because there
Yep,
used to be
yep,
badass toys and Happy Meals.
yep.
So you could get limited run. There'd be, and it's so funny how much things have changed in that way. At a fast food restaurant, you could get a limited and a glass collectible with your quarter pounder with cheese or whatever. Um,
Oh man.
that's not what McDonald's is like now.
Not at all. Not at
That's
all.
that's not your experience at McDonald's, 100%.
Not even Burger King anymore either. Burger King was crazy too. Like I said, Burger King used to be able to get movies and stuff at Burger King, which
Yep,
yeah, you can't do that anymore either.
yep.
So everything's all digital. The digital age has come.
Yeah, and then as a kid in the car, you'd be hype in the drive-through line or going in thinking about the peripheral stuff you could get with your meal.
Oh
Be
god,
like,
yeah. Like
"Oh my
you're like
god, look at the toy."
right? You're like hoping that you get a specific toy. You're like, because they're showing you like 6 or 7 different things you could get. You're like, oh, maybe I'll get this one this week, and then you get the same one. And you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you were, like, too young to process just looking at what toy they were handing out to everyone.
Right, right.
You were just like, "When it's my turn, maybe it's gonna be that one." It was
Yep.
never gonna be that one.
No, until I actually worked at Burger King, I realized how it all kind of came together and such. So it's is like, oh my god. Yeah, I worked at the BK Lounge. I'll say that.
Uh, so, yeah, let's fast forward to now.
Yeah.
What so you mentioned to me before
Hmm.
that there's an Ubisoft video game, Skull and Bones, correct?
I think
That
it's what it is. Yeah, Skull and Bones.
we thought it was dead and it
Oh
had just
god.
gone away because they started talking about it years ago. I don't even know how many years ago that was. Like 4 years ago?
Dude,
5?
it's gotta be like 2017, I wanna say maybe 2017 or 2018 actually. It
Like
popped up it popped up pretty much around, um, I wanna say, like, we just finished playing
Black
maybe
Sails.
not Black Sails, it was way later after Black Sails. It was after, I think Origins, the very first Origins came out. At Skull and
Mm.
Bones, they were showing Skull and Bones because they were gonna bring out, I think the next one was, not Odyssey, yeah, right?
Yeah.
it was, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so it was around the same time, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool," they're gonna totally put out the pirate game finally that everybody's been wanting from essentially Black Sails, because that was the coolest shit in Black Sails, you'd be able to just, you know, go around the entire map and just start fights with everybody in a pirate ship, and now it's probably gonna be like this multiplayer online crazy shit, like, out of control.
So in that universe, I want to just kind of, now that we're there, I'll back up and just talk about Assassin's Creed as a whole and
Yeah.
kind of how it ended up where it ended up. So
Oh, man.
the first game, gameplay wise, was not very good. It was it had some cool stuff going on crowd wise, and they had made a little open world that was kind of cool for what it was. Um, but the tasks in the game were just horribly repetitive, and it was it was pretty dumpy gameplay wise. They had some cool fight mechanics going on, but pure gameplay, it was maybe a 5 out of 10, if that. Where there was some good elements here and there, but overall it was not very good. But what it was good at was the story was amazing. It
Or it
had
was
tons of
incredible.
mystery. It was full of conspiracy theories. They had
Mhm.
doctored real world images of titans of industry and the corporate robber barons
Yep,
all holding ancient alien artifacts, like a picture of Henry Ford with the apple in his hand down low.
yep.
And the writer was a writer from Harvard. So it was really well thought out, really well researched, and you spent a good amount of time confined in this cell, and you were trying to figure out, why am I in this cell? What is going on? And you kept encountering these really strange symbology and random weird conspiracy minded clues. And the whole thing was really intriguing and exciting and kept you locked in. And then you get out into the learn more about the overarching plot and everything that was going on. And that was really good too. And so the gameplay was almost secondary to what made this game great. And the lore that you learned when you went out into the rule is that there was two schools of thought of people. There was the assassins, where everything was permitted, chaos essentially, and then there was the Templar Order, which was just that. It was installing order to bring about peace. So they wanted rigid hierarchies with lots of law and order in the rigid hierarchy to bring about control and peace so that civilization could survive. The assassin's point of view was, no one should be controlled by anyone else, and everything is permitted. But that's not as much of what it sounds like. What the lore was really speaking to was not just that everything permitted meant do whatever you want. It was really a metaphor for choice, as far as you should have experience in the world and think about every choice you have thoughtfully so that you make the right decision based on what's right to do in the world. And that everything was permitted as long as you were righteous about your thinking. So it wasn't necessarily, it was anarchy in its truest sense, basically. So basically, anarchy versus totalitarianism, where the Templar Order was more about a strict hierarchy where those would be elevated fit when they see fit, and strict law and order shall be maintained so that civilization and peace can happen. While the assassins were more Nietzsche minded, anarchic in thinking, and it was this really cool dynamic where every time you killed somebody in the game, to present you with a little tiny story from the kill that made you kind of question those two things, like, is the order so bad, or is the chaos important so freedom can exist? Because that was the point the assassins were making, is you need to have choice for freedom and liberty, because that's the only place that freedom and liberty exists. And if this crushing order is deciding everything for you, you really have no freedom and liberty. And so that was always in question for every kill. And that's what drew everyone to this game in after the first game. It wasn't gameplay, it was story. Then Assassin's Creed 2, we're introduced to Ezio. Amazing character, amazing theme in it. Ezio's so cool. We're in Italy. The engine is better. The fighting is better. Assassin's Creed 2 was a epic game when you started and got into it. Same writing as well. Now we get deeper into this lore. We're starting to explore this dynamic between anarchy and order. And it's just great. Ezio's a stud too. We're sleeping with all the ladies. We're running around causing mischief in the city. Where and all the lores too rooted in this really cool like Medici banking families and all these other real world powerful figures who were the bad guys because they maintained these ancient aliens which gave them power and control of the population. Uh, and and that was the other cool tie into this is we it was talking about this advanced race of humans that had this incredible technology that was hidden throughout time, and the way that you found this technology was to jack in. They basically created a machine that broke your DNA down to zeros so that you could go into your DNA and experience it like a video game from any of your ancestors in your past. So basically, that your entire ancestry was coded in your DNA, and and they broke down your DNA into zeros, and then that allowed you to go in and play through your history in VR, essentially, which was the Animus machine in the game. So, like, these are some of the dopest concepts ever, really, in sci-fi. Where I mean, there's definitely other people talking about this sort of thing at the time, but they quantified it in like, here's the lore, here's the badass story, and we're like off and running. At this time, Creed is booming. It's one of the most popular games. Every iteration is better than the one before it. That's another thing. When the sequel came out, it was cooler than the one before. Ezio
Yeah.
was more badass, cooler game mechanics, more things to do. Um, and though the tasks around the city were repetitive as far as go collect all the X,
But do
run
you
from
remember when it came to those, do you remember how long it took for the sequels to come out? It
yeah,
wasn't every single year. It was like every other year, every 2 years.
yeah,
And then
2
it
or 3
became
years.
and then
Yeah,
it became every single year. Oh, it's the
yeah.
new Assassin's Creed. Oh, it's the new Assassin's Creed. And it just and that's when we get
Yeah.
to where you're about to get to.
Well, so we roll out of Ezio. The story is amazing. It's we got ancient aliens. We got traveling back in time through your DNA. The battle between order and chaos is happening, and it's just shaping. The main character Desmond's amazing, and then we get into Assassin's Creed 3, and this is the height of the series where they have the best artists, the best developers, the best writing, taking hold of the story at its and this to me is the best Assassin's Creed. You're this badass Native American Radamangadan, and you're built like a linebacker with a hatchet, just taking out the British. It is awesome. I played through it just recently again, and basically 100%ed the whole game again for like the third time. But anyways, three is this amazing story, and they wrap up this initial story that was started in such a elegant, epic, exciting way. By the time you finish 3, it's like you're spent, like, "Oh, this is" and this game's old enough that I'm gonna just spoil it or whatever. Desmond, the main character, dies at the end to save the universe from, a impending doom that's coming toward planet Earth. He activates ancient alien technology to save us all in this epic journey that you've been on. And now Black Flag comes out. The writer has switched now from Harvard to Yale. Ugh. A Yale boy is now in charge of the series. And you feel the difference right off the jump. All of a sudden, you're not an assassin anymore in Black Flag. You work for Abstergo, you work for the Templars. You're now firmly on the side of, not as much on the side of the assassin, which was a little jarring if you're into the story and lore. You were like, okay, but like, cool. I like the twist that's happening with it. The mic is, yeah, yeah. Let me make an adjustment.
All good. I'll have to tell you though, I didn't play Black Flag. I mean, excuse me, I didn't play uh Assassin's Creed 3 all the way. I actually still haven't played it all the way. Um, but I played the shit out of some Black Flag. I loved that one. I don't know why. It drew me. Maybe it's because of the pirates, but pirates and, assassins and pirates, pretty cool.
You're saying you fully played through Black Flag?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't 100% it, but I uh I did beat the game. I got all the way to the end and everything, and I love Black Flag. I
Yeah,
mean, again, it's because of the whole they in kind of like what you were saying, they brought back they made something better because they added an additional thing to it. The ship battles are just
yeah.
freaking phenomenal.
So the deal with that, the game was well done, but you could already see that the ship battles were worse than the ship battles in three.
This
Like
is
you could
true.
see that some of the artists had left of these. That's what I mean. It was peaking at three, like the
Yeah.
dopest team that they ever assembled for an Assassin's Creed theory
Hmm.
or Assassin's Creed game worked on three.
Yeah.
And then Black Flag, they used all that tech that they built on three. The world was huge. Black Flag was awesome. The sea shanties with your guys as you were out sailing around, and
Yeah.
Kenway was a cool character as well. Uh, but like I was saying, lore wise, it's like, oh, we're a Templar now, which was cool. Like that was a cool change up where because Desmond dies in the one before, so you're like, oh, okay, who are we now? Like, is this part of? There was a lot of mystery associated with Black Flag. Is this part of Desmond's bloodline, but like a different branch of it? Is this somebody else? Are we going to be introduced to the new main character? Like, what's going on with this Kenway guy, and like, why is he important to the story? Which we never got out of Black Flag. And this was my beef with it, lore wise, is going through the story within the canon. It didn't go anywhere with it. We were left with a bunch of unanswered questions at the end of it, going after the Mayan crystal skulls, which is also cool in that conspiracy world. But it was all confusing, and there was a bunch of unanswered things. The story wasn't as well developed for the first time ever in the series. But there was a ton of cool stuff going on in Black Flag. It was fun to play, so it didn't matter as much. Like I played the crap out of Black Flag. Uh, so then the French one comes out, and that's
Wait, wait, wait,
Origins.
wait. Aren't we missing one?
No, it's the
What's
French one is ne-
Revelations? Which one's what
that
Revelations?
was the British one after or there was the one that came out where you're the girl in Louisiana, and but that was like a mobile game. There was more games that were peripheral around the series that came out on the PlayStation mobile systems.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting those in this. Like there is some other assassin bloodlines that played out during that time. And Ubisoft's peripheral website stuff was really cool too. Like it had this whole assassin guild thing where you could rank up and get more tidbits of lore within it. But all
Oh,
that
are you talking about Rogue? Is that the one? Because that's the one you play as a Templar, is Assassin's Creed Rogue.
so Rogue was another mobile one. But I'm talking about the French one right after Black Flag.
Unity.
Unity. Okay.
Unity.
Unity released buggy and broken. So you
Mhm.
could tell, like, so that's what I mean. 3 was the peak. Black Flag was a little bit worse, objectively. And then Unity was broken. You could tell that they had squeezed the budget, purged the old team. It was all newer, cheaper artists. You got
That's
the
right.
guy from Yale writing it, and Unity's lore shit the bed.
Yeah.
It comes through, and you're an assassin that betrays the assassin order and champions the ideas. He gets brainwashed halfway through the story to agree with the Templars. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. This is what was odd to me is, okay, we're not an assassin anymore. Now we're a Templar and Black Flag. Now they're justifying why the Templars are better than the assassins the entire time in Unity. And now these figures that used to be power figures in the old game, uh, that were corrupted by these ancient artifacts, were all good. Like the Queen of England should have been a perfect opportunity, conspiracy wise, to the whole monarchy of England to show how they were all corrupted by these ancient artifacts. And that's how they rose to power in their monarchy. But
Yeah.
instead, it was like, oh, the monarchy cares so much about you. And like in France as well. Sorry, I
Yeah, it was
goofed
the
that up.
French Revolution, yeah.
In the French Revolution, and all the characters that you met in the French Revolution were all good guys. All these power figures that should have been villains, according to the old Assassin's Creed lore, were now, oh, they're the good guy. So these, IRL horrible people were now turned into heroes in the game. And it's telling you don't think like an assassin, think like a Templar the whole time through the lore, to the point where your main character betrays the assassin's order at the end of the game and does some Templar shit to end it. And I was just disgusted at the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
besides the game being broken, I can deal with that if I'm having fun with it. Like, I'll
Mhm.
put up with some bugs and things. But
Wasn't that one the first one though that had like multiple levels of like you could go into the houses and then go into multiple levels of the houses? So
yeah,
like I feel like they were trying to push that new tech so
is the
hard in
first
that
multiplayer, like, well, no, no,
first
no. Is the
multiplayer. First
first
multiplayer.
co-op multiplayer.
That's
Before
right.
that, the old Assassin's Creed had cool multiplayers too, where it was like a PvP mode
Yeah.
of all these like fun kind of. It wasn't anything reinventing the wheel, but they did have unique concepts, honestly, in those
Yeah.
old multiplayers where you could hide in a crowd
Yep.
and then jump out and stab
Yep.
somebody, and then hunters would come after you. And
Yeah.
they did have some unique stuff going on with that multiplayer in the old ones from the
Mhm.
Ezio era too.
Yeah.
But now in Unity, you're realizing like, oh, this thing's done so. Like they just ruined all the lore. Now it's good to be like a statist that obeys your overlords, and that's the
Yeah.
message they're putting out instead of resist.
Yep.
And they've gone completely anti-anarchy and total pro-order. And they've also taken all these figures from the old game, which were perfect for villains, because in real life they were villains, and made them into great heroes of justice.
Now let me ask you this. You remember the very first one, who the villain was at the very end, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we should split it should,
Oh no, it's a way old game. Spoil
okay.
it.
So, the basically, your assassin master basically betrays the assassin order in the end.
Yes.
So,
Right.
it's like and throughout that entire time, you're essentially killing all these people for your assassin master who essentially betrayed you, and you're finding out that the people that you're killing in the first one are not that bad of people. They're actually doing good. And then that's where you said like the whole thing comes in and twists. Like the hand, like I remember one vaguely was it was a doctor, and the doctor was he was killing these people that were, I guess they were extremely sick or something. And he took them in and he's like, and when you kill him, he's like, oh, these people were dying. They had, a disease. And if that disease spread, then more people would die. And then you're like, wait a minute, like, what did I just do? Kind of deal.
Yep. And that was
Uh,
what was important, is made to have those questions in your head.
Yeah.
Like, that's dope gameplay. That's good
Yeah.
immersive writing.
Yeah.
Is where you're doing these things, and then when you kill him, it always gave you this little question like, "Am I doing the right thing?"
Yep. Yep.
And that's the whole everything is permitted.
Yep.
You're supposed to be questioning everything
Correct.
versus the Templar ideology is you're told what to do and
Yeah.
you obey it because you're lower in the hierarchy.
Yep, and that's
Whereas
kind
this
of I did feel that definitely in Unity where they were like, "Oh, you gotta go kill this person, you gotta go do this, and you gotta go do that," you
didn't.
know? And you
Yeah.
just did it, and it was just like, "Why did
Well,
I
and the
do this?"
character yeah, and the character never questioned these things. He was
Nope.
always siding with the Templars the whole
Mhm.
time. So it was like so then after that the British one comes out. I don't even remember the name.
Uh,
Syndicate.
Syndicate.
Syndicate comes out and it's more of the same now. The Queen is good. All of the British royalty is good. They're the good guys. Uh, and the ancient artifact was like that's another thing is this element of ancient artifacts is diminishing series by series
I
where
don't
we're
think there
having
was I don't even think there was an ancient artifact in that one. I
there
played
was
quite
you were going after it, but that's what I mean. It was secondary, and you actually
yeah.
give it to the queen at the end. You're
Oh,
basically an agent. You basically. Oh, I remember that. So the takeaway from Syndicate playing that, I played through the whole thing too, and like 100% of it.
yeah.
Uh, was
Brother and sister. You could be
you were
brother and
brother and
sister.
sister, but you were basically police.
Yeah, you were police.
That's yeah. You had nothing, no assassin about you. You were a cop in that game. You were a
You met with
cop.
Sherlock Holmes, you solved murders. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
you were
was
policing the city.
yep.
You were doing cleaning up petty crime.
You were
You were
clear you were freeing the children.
yeah. The story was as shallow as could be. It was
Yep.
basically you were police. You had nothing to do with being an assassin. I can't even remember if it even talked about what bloodline you were, or you know that's what I mean. They're even dropping that element from it that you're going
Yeah.
back into your DNA. And I don't even think did you even get out of the animus at that in that game? Like, as a character?
Uh, I don't remember, but I remember playing in World War II.
Yeah, I don't think you ever even left the Animus. Or maybe you did. I
You
don't
I think
remember
you
if you
did
did.
because you do well, there were these, like, warps or whatever, and you would jump into the warp, and that would take you to, like, World War II. So,
Maybe
no,
it
I don't
was a
think you ever did go to
generic
Animus.
maybe it was like a generic thing where there were some, like, doctors talking to you, like, "We're sending you back,"
Yes. Yep.
but they didn't
Yep.
tell you your name or who you were.
Yeah.
It was just this ambiguous kind of what they tried to do is shift it to, make it more of a POV that, like,
Yeah.
you as the player were the person, but
Yeah.
that, again, breaks all the canon, breaks all the lore. It's not supposed to be that. Uh, so Syndicate, which Syndicate actually had a kind of a fun mechanic.
It did.
It did have a fun. It had a good fight mechanic. The fist
It did.
fighting was fun. It was
Yep.
kind of like those Batman brawlers,
Yep.
where you could combo to combo to combo
Mhm.
ish. It had more of like a finishing move to finishing move kind of mechanic.
And then they
But
started, like, adding it where you can upgrade your weapons and upgrade your armor and, like, you like and it
yeah,
wasn't just, like, upgrading the armor to, like, certain things, like, you could actually upgrade the weapons, and it was kinda neat. And so, like, it was starting to bring a
right.
different mechanic into it, but at the same time, like you said, the storytelling sucked. Like
Yep. There was no story really. You were just police, and
yep,
then so after that was then Origins, right? The Egyptian.
yeah. I
So
didn't
then when
play
that
that hardly at all.
no, well, I got through most of it. That's when they changed the engine. It was this big open world thing, and that's when this new format at Ubi, a very small budget. They have world building kits and tools, which are awesome tools. If you've watched any demos of how they work, you can basically just draw a city block with your mouse, and it'll just draw. Like you lay out a spline, and on that spline will just boop 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 a city block, and then you can just cycle through buildings,
Yep,
cycle through. So it was just basically went from story driven to sandbox.
yep.
Is and then so ironic that it's Egypt too, which they portrayed as giant sandbox. Uh, and it was a very shallow, very straightforward game of go from A to B, pick up the box, carry the box from A to B, which has always been kind of Assassin's Creed tasks, but it was even more glaring in this big sandbox because also little to no story. And then this is where they had completely eliminated and annihilated all the old canon. It has nothing to do with being an assassin anymore, or any of the old Assassin's Creed lore isn't present at all. The story of this game was a revenge story where your whole family gets killed and this guy's out. It's basically the terminal list in ancient Egypt, where his family gets killed and then you track down all these people that are responsible for your family's deaths, then murder all of them for no. I mean, there was some small evidence or elements that were kind of hinting toward the old lore, but it's basically gone. There's no more story in this game at
No
all.
animus, nothing.
Nothing. It's just a straight sandbox exploration game, dull as could be, as dull as you want. And uh, again, at the time, there was a few redeeming elements of it of exploration, but not enough to slog through that fucking thing.
And
And
they were building, also, wasn't it also they were going off of, uh I think it was, not Elder Scrolls, it was, Dark Souls. They were
Dark
going off
Souls
of
was a hit.
the heavy, like, hard combat, making it more difficult instead of having multiple guys. Because I mean, you remember, in the other ones, you'd have, like, 12, 13 guys coming after you, and you would just slaughter them. you
Yep.
know, combo
Yep.
after combo, and then it went down to, like, 3 guys, and you would have to sneak up on them, and you couldn't even kill him. Like, you couldn't sneak up and just assassinate him. You
No,
you
because it
would
was
you would
that
maim him. You would maim
right.
him, and then you had to do the whole, like, Dark Souls roll, get behind, parry. Like, parrying became a huge thing in Assassin's Creed. Like,
Yep.
I don't
And
know.
it was all those division elements too, where if he's a level 9 and you're a level 2, you can't kill him.
Yep, that
It,
too.
it had all those RPG elements that they introduced,
Yep.
which RPG with no story is just bleh.
It's just it's just wasting time,
Yeah, you're wasting my time. I don't care if there's a deep RPG
right?
tree if there's no story behind it. Story is
Exactly.
what carries an RPG. Hence the name. You want to role play within it. But if
Yeah.
there's no lore or canon to role play within, you have nothing. Um, and this is where I basically was burnt at this point. I was like, okay, they annihilated this thing, and I see what the new format is. I see this reduced budget. I see what they're going to try and do with it because it was the same template now for multiple games within Ubi. Because there was a period too where Ubi had all the best games. I remember one year I looked and I was like, man, I'm only playing Ubi games, and they're all the best games out on the market.
What was your
Uh,
first Ubi game you ever played?
Shit. Splinter Cell? Yeah.
Really?
Splinter Cell was the first. Splinter Cell 1 was the first one, and that came out. That was so amazing when that came out because there was only Metal Gear for a true spy kind of game. And then there was rumblings of like, oh, there's this other game and they're kind of doing some cool spy stuff. And Splinter Cell was the shit.
I'm going way
Uh,
back with that one.
Splinter Cell was dope. Like the first 3 Splinter Cells I played I probably played 10,000 hours of those 3 games.
Yeah.
Especially with the online modes, which those so we can go back into some Splinter Cell too. But let's wrap the Assassin's
Oh,
Creed
yeah, for
first.
sure, for sure.
So Odyssey, I played barely any of because I saw it was the same as Origins, and then I didn't play the Viking one, just because I assumed it was just the exact same thing with just a model swap
I
instead
played
of
Odyssey.
Egyptian, you're a Roman.
Yeah,
Instead of a Roman, you're a Viking, but it's the exact
yeah.
same game. That was my guess
Um,
anyways.
yes and no. Odyssey is like they kind of went back to that whole, like, secret society type thing. Um, it's like you're going through and you're killing cultists essentially.
Yeah,
So
but
instead of Templar, they're cultists now. Like,
mm,
it was like the cult of, I can't even remember the name of the cult that they were.
Personality.
No, they were cultists, but like yeah, the whole assassins that whole assassins group thing was gone. Like
Yeah.
you didn't even use a hidden blade anymore. It was literally like you're going around with I think most of the time I go around with a shield and a dagger. The dagger is your hidden blade now. And
Mhm.
then you have tons of different swords and like I said, Dark Souls, like straight
Yeah.
up Dark Souls, like is
Yep.
that is the that was the format, and the only reason I played it was because at the time I was dating a woman from Italy, and I was interested in all the lore of the Greek lore and stuff like that, bringing the islands and stuff like that. And believe it or not, I couldn't play it in English because the lip syncing was so bad. I changed it to Italian and it actually made it look like they were actually saying stuff the right way.
Well, I would always do that in Assassin's Creed games too. And anyone that wants to revisit or replay these, I highly recommend that. If you play all the Ezios in Italian, the game is a million times cooler. And even I think I even changed Unity to French, and but that's if anyone's going to revisit or replay any of those, I say change it to the language because that's
Change
a
it to the language.
great way to go with it. I don't know
And
if you
get
can
in, just get involved and get like into the game itself. Like you're
right.
like,
It'll help all those games.
yep.
So I mean, I just wish that they would have ended the series at and this is my beef with a lot of games is I wish they would have ended the series at 3 and put it to rest and wrapped it up, go out on top, go out with a well done, finish the game, and then you could have done Black Flag as like a spin-off, right? And then
But
not called it Assassin's Creed anymore, call it something else.
Kenway was a main character of 3.
No. Yeah,
Yes.
nothing. Uh,
Kenway's son. That was Kenway's son, Connor. Kenway, Edward Kenway
you
from
think Kenway's related to Connor?
oh, he is.
It didn't explain that though.
So you got to think about it. So Kenway's son,
You can't assume that though, because they
no,
never said
no,
anything about that though.
in Black Flag, Edward, I think his name was Edward, right?
Edward's from yeah, he's from a different
No, Black Flag is Edward. And then Edward had a son at the end of Black Flag who is becomes a Templar. That Templar
yes.
then falls in love with an Indian woman and has Connor. And that's at the very, very begin. That's in 3.
Oh, Kenway is Connor's dad's bloodline.
Yes.
I would
Connor's
I would
dad, Connor's dad is direct descendant or is the son of the pirate Kenway.
I see. And that would make sense. I would like to
Hence the
confirm that, but
hence
yeah,
Assassin's Creed Rogue.
yes. Edward Kenway's Connor's grandfather. So that makes
That's right.
that okay, so that does make sense then in the lore. But even said okay, so that said
But they
though,
should have ended it then at 4.
should have
That's what I
ended
would
it
have said.
yeah, ended it well, you could have ended it at 3 and then just changed Kenway to somebody else, you know,
Yeah, you could
not
have
made him part
theoretically.
of Desmond's bloodline, but instead just it should have been a spin-off and they should have changed the name, but they get so locked into the branding that
Mhm.
oh, everyone wants to play Assassin's Creed, but that's not
But wait,
true.
wait, wait.
I don't
What came out? What came out during that time? You had Pirates of the Caribbean. You had Black Sails coming out. You had the other pirate show that was coming. There
yeah.
were multiple pirate shows. So Ubisoft straight up went in and was like, "This is a cash cow, baby. We're gonna do this and we're gonna rewrite
Yeah,
it."
and it's just lazy to be like, "Oh, we piggyback on top of the
Yep,
Assassin's Creed marketing. It's already a
yep,
branded name in the meta, blah
yep,
blah 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 blah." And that's wrong.
yep,
That's stupid rich kid think that
yep,
I went to marketing school at University of Minnesota, and so I know what the public wants. And branding is blah 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 because that's what my professor taught me, and that's not true. we would have still played the other games as a spin-off of the Assassin's Creed universe with a different title.
Yep.
You'd have still retained the fan base, and you could have made these changes without it being so offensive.
Correct.
100%. 100%. You just if you think you have to piggyback on that marketing, you're dummy. You are a
Yeah.
straight up dummy. It's not how marketing works. Uh, but I say that, and all those games sold the most of any Ubisoft
Yep.
game ever.
It's
So
true.
maybe I'm wrong that the masses will just buy something because of the name of it.
I mean,
Hence
think about Black
Madden.
Sails. You had it on Xbox 360. You had it
Yeah,
on PlayStation 3. You had
right.
it on PlayStation 4. You had it on Xbox One. You know,
Yep.
like
All
it
these
was. we- they crushed Black Sails. Black Sails, I think, was probably has to be one of their highest ones.
It is. They were breaking records with every release of every game at that point.
Yeah.
Every game they released, and then funny enough, progressively the games got worse and worse and
hmm
worse and they're breaking records of sales.
hmm
So smaller budgets, less effort, higher sales.
hmm
Which that's just because of the gaming boom. We were in a gaming bubble at that point, and if you
Yeah, we
haven't
were.
realized, the gaming bubble has popped. Uh, we're at the bottom of that barrel. Uh, but
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
companies are still making money. There's still big franchise making money. Uh,
Absolutely.
but let's go back to Splinter Cell a little bit. So Splinter
Yeah.
Cell was one of the coolest spy games to come on the market ever,
Oh yeah.
and also the writers. It wasn't actually Tom Clancy writing it, obviously, but those writers that picked up that universe made such cool storylines to exist in.
hmm
And if you take those first three Splinter Cell games as a whole, they're really great because the first one, you were at war. And so you had what they were calling fifth freedom. Fifth freedom means that you can execute at will. Like you, at your own judgment, you're allowed to kill anyone you want to kill because you were at war in the game
hmm
and you were gathering intel, you were putting a stop to threats, and it was there was nothing like Splinter Cell when that came out. Like
Yeah.
that whole sneaky, you felt like a vampire in the shadows. Even though it was kind of corny, in hindsight, like you're hiding behind an office desk and a guy walks right past you. But it was the coolest stealth game to date.
Oh
And
yeah.
you really did feel powerful and stealthy in it, even though the presentation of how the stealth actually worked was a little bit corny.
hmm
But it was still like so fun and so fun to try and get through the level stealthy. And then when you did ghost the level and no one even detected you, it was really satisfying. And it was this very cool. You're at war with I think someone in the Eastern Bloc in the first one.
hmm
It was some sort of like Chechnyan,
Yeah.
Azerbaijan, yeah, or I
It's
think it was
been a
some sort of
long time.
Azerbaijan bad guy. But yeah, it was super heavy duty and that kind of like aggressive like shit is going down feeling was present throughout. Like Sam, they're gonna they're about to it was everything was pressing like they're about to nuke a whole school bus full of children. You got to get in there and kill this guy. And you're like, yeah. So you'd sneak through and then just pop one in that dude's head at the end of the mission or whatever. And then two, so this was a great like first dive into the series. Lots of action, lots of stealth. You really got a feel for the whole thing. It's dope. Uh, and then was there multiplayer in one? No.
No.
And then two, Chaos Theory, or sorry, two Pandora Tomorrow, and that's the first multiplayer, right? Yeah. So two, um, Pandora Tomorrow, you weren't at war. So and they did this so eloquently in the game is it was a intel gathering game. I mean, a lot of people didn't understand that and probably just played it aggressive or whatever. But if you were a fan of the series and you knew how to stealth, you were playing this game dope where you'd sneak in and come up and they wouldn't know what was really going on and all the telecom and the lore. They'd be like, dude, we don't know what's up with this guy. He's doing some kind of broadcast out of this basement. Go check out and see what's happening. So you weren't they didn't want you just killing everyone willy-nilly. And so you'd stealth through, get a camera on a dude, see what he was kind of saying, and they'd kind of in the background be like, I don't know, he might be killing everyone, or he might not. Let's go gather more intel at another location. So through most of two was just intel gathering, and it was non-aggressive, which is bold change up from the action of the first one. We are doing way more aggressive maneuvers. Now the second one is don't kill anyone because they leaned into the stealth part because they had the dopest stealth mechanic on the market. So they were like, let's show it off how cool it can be to stealth through levels and be non-aggressive. And yeah, sound levels, light levels. You had all these indicators to let you know how stealthy you were in the game. And then the first and coolest multiplayer ever, Spies versus Mercs, where as a spy you had the third person cam so you could see the whole environment. And it was two on three. So there was three spies and two mercs. So and the spies were trying to enter a location, and you'd run up and try to hack on a computer. And if you hacked on all three, and once you hacked on the computer, it would unlock the next location. If you get to that and hack on the computer, it'd unlock the last location. If you could hack all 3 points, spies win. Mercs were first person, but had so you, first person versus third person. First person, you can't see anything that's going on. Like visually, the third person, you have a massive advantage. You can see around every corner without having to peek out around the corner. You can swivel your camera to see everything around you. And first person, you're like running around with your gun like an asshole, and you don't know what's going on. But you had multiple vision modes. You had like thermals, motion detecting. You had all these gadgets and cool things for your guns. And so as mercs, two mercs could cover a big area when you knew what you were doing as a merc and wipe those little spies out. You'd be stomping spies. And it was the first game on Xbox Live where you could actually talk with other people. The very first time where you could talk to other people in a game, like you could go as a spy, you could grab the merc and then hit the white button on the Xbox controller and start talking shit. Be like, "Yeah, what's up, bitch? I got you now." And then snap his neck and then run off. And you'd be so mad as a merc. And then as a merc,
Oh,
you could down the spy and he'd be knocked out. And then you could hit the white button and talk shit while he's knocked out on the ground. And you could hit him with this like green paint. So when they got up and ran off, it would leave footprints. So sometimes you do catch and release if you're playing noobs, and you realize they're noobs. You'd knock them down and talk some shit, and then hit them with the paint and let them run off. Like, where are you going? Where are you going? And it was too much fun. Like, it was the first time we were ever able to interact with each other online. It was the first time, like, it was the first of a lot of things. And there was a hardcore community that played that game a lot. Like I got up into the upper echelon of players. Like we were in the top 10 as a merc and probably the top 100 as a spy worldwide. So we played with all the best kids, and it was such a fun game. And then Chaos Theory, the next one, again, was a better game. And lore wise and everything, it was like a blend of the first two. So it was intel gathering and then full aggression at the other end of that. And then also great. They expanded on the multiplayer. It was kind of same but more, also fun. And then befell the same thing as Assassin's Creed, really. Like new writers, new teams, new everyone, and then they turned it into a game that wasn't Splinter Cell. It was this actiony mark everyone, tuk 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 tuk, and then Sam would just auto execute everyone in the room, which it was a cool mechanic. It was fun, but it wasn't Splinter Cell. They
yeah,
should have just renamed it something else. Bourne Identity. They should have put Matt Damon's head on somebody and just had you be Jason Bourne, and that game would have rocked.
right,
But because they left it as Splinter Cell, it was like, ugh, this isn't Splinter Cell. Like, what is this?
right.
We're just this aggro Sam running in. And they did go back to basics with the last one that was on 360, Blacklist, and that was a good iteration of the Splinter Cell, but I don't know if they'll ever be able to bring it back right. Um,
Yeah.
as far as like exactly what it needs to be to make a new school Splinter Cell. I don't have the faith that Ubi's able to make a good game anymore. Really,
Yeah.
what's the last good Ubi game you remember playing? Like where you were like, yeah, this Ubi game's the shit.
Rainbow Six, the very, very first one.
Yeah, a long ass time ago. Like,
Like,
I mean, I guess that said, there's a ton of people that play Rainbow now.
no, like, I mean,
Everyone loves Far Cry too.
Far Cry. I mean, Far Cry's good. It's kind of though the same
I almost bought
sandbox,
the
big.
yeah, same maps too. There was a couple times where they just flipped the map
Hmm.
in the next iteration of the game. From Far Cry 3 to the prehistoric one, it was the exact same map, but turned 180.
That's hilarious.
It was really bad.
That is
I
bad.
I almost bought 5 and gave it a play because it was on sale, but I don't know. I know it's just another again, it suffers that sandbox problem where it's just run to A to B and kill everyone you find there. And
Yeah.
that's as deep as the story's ever gonna get. Same with
Yeah.
Ghost Recon. Badlands was pretty fun.
Oh, Wildlands, you mean?
Wildlands, yeah.
Yeah, Wildlands
Where
was fun.
Wildlands was fun and was shaping up to be a really good game. It just had awful, awful AI.
Yes, that was the
Awful.
problem. And you can crank it up and they get better, but it's not much better.
No, the hard levels were awful, felt awful. It's much better
And the
experience on
problem, I will say this though, like supposedly they fixed a lot of the AI problems in what's the new one?
oh,
Ghost Recon.
Breakpoint. Holy shit, a bad game.
Yeah.
The AI is slightly better in that. The AI is better in that game.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, they hear you and they come right to you, they found where you were. And that was kind of like across the board though, like in a lot of Ubi games, if you think about it, you've got Assassin's Creed. Well, Assassin's Creed actually they would actually look for you. And it's like, why did you remove that whole concept of looking for you when in Wildlands it was like, oh, they hear you and they just started shooting right at you. Like it was
Yeah,
like
the Wildlands problem is once one guy saw you, the entire base saw you
exactly.
at the exact same time. There was no subtlety, no nuance to the detection. It was once one
Yeah.
guy saw you, everyone knew where your exact location too. The
Yep.
entire base all knew your exact location
Exactly.
all at the same time, and it felt terrible when you're playing it. You're like,
Absolutely.
"What the fuck?"
Absolutely. Yep.
And
But the PvP aspect of that game was fun, I will say.
PvP is fun. PvP was fun, and it was a fun co-op too. Like that game
Yeah,
was almost there. All it needed
so
was an
close.
AI fix, and it would have been one of the greatest games.
I agree.
Again, no story. You literally just brought people back to a hut to have some wicked woman torture them in the hut
Yeah.
for information on where the next drug dealer was to take out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was super America-y because that's what we
Very,
do
very much.
IRL.
I mean that's what we do. I mean, it was like it's like it was Belize, wasn't it?
Bolivia.
Oh, Bolivia. Okay. So it was Bolivia, and it's like real shit that's actually happening in Bolivia. And what we probably do as
Yeah.
Americans in Bolivia to get intel about the whole war on drugs.
Yeah, but in real life, we actually kill all those cartel leaders so that we can run the drug trade.
You take their money and,
Yeah, take their money and we set up the pipeline. Oh, you trying to operate outside of our say so? Sorry, third worlder. You meet our torture expert, Jenna, or whatever her
right?
name is.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was crazy.
so, so then Breakpoint should have been called Ghost Recon Made in China.
Right.
Should have been the name of that game. Like some of the worst, I don't know if the budget was just small, but they cloned, like if you look at the map and the assets, it's the exact same tree cloned around a bunch of times. And it's not even integrated in the map well. It's just like jammed into the ground of the mesh. It's that tool where I was saying, like, you can just draw a spline, but they
Yeah.
didn't even, they used like 2 or 3 trees. So it just looks like it was just awful.
Yeah.
It was so awful. We couldn't play it for more than a couple hours where we were running the co-ops And he gets into that mode in both of the Ghost Recons where it's like, all right, did this. Into the chopper. Fly right to the next location. Jump out.
Yep.
Kill everything that's there. Go touch
Yep.
the thing. Press the X. Back into the chopper. Then to the next one. And you're just doing that, and there's no story. There's no nothing. It's just literally go press X on this thing, and between you and pressing X on the thing is 50 guys you got to kill.
Yeah.
And that's the depth of the game, which and it was just made so poorly, put together so poorly. Everything was trash except for the AI in that game. If you would have put the AI from that game on Wildlands, that's the Ghost Recon we
Well,
need.
the I will say the gun physics were good though. Because
Y-
if you think about the bullet drop with the sniper rifles,
Yep.
like everybody trying to get the farthest shot, and say it, because that was like one of our things we were trying to
Yeah.
do,
Well,
you know.
that was fun in Wildlands. In Breakpoint, all
Oh,
that was still
Breakpoint.
pretty good there. But even the character animations were garbage. Like
Yeah.
the way he ran was
Yeah.
like this. It wasn't mocapped or anything. It was just
Yeah.
bad keyframed. That's what I mean. You could tell it was just made in China. It was
Yep.
just some kid in his desk churning out a bunch of run cycle animations that weren't very good. Uh,
Sadly. Like,
yeah, and then again, that was when they were implementing the MMO thing and everything, and
yep.
again, an RPG with no story is just meh. It's just bland, muddy mess
Yep.
of just it was unplayable. Breakpoint was unplayable. Anyone that played that a lot, I have questions about you. Like,
I bought it for, like, dirt cheap.
yeah,
I got it on sale, and I was like, I'll try it, why not?" It was on sale, I got the ultimate edition, it was,
mm.
like, 15 bucks or something, 10 bucks, I don't even know, and I'm like, "Whatever, try it out, see what it is," and I haven't played it since.
If you played it like 500 hours or something, you're a weirdo.
Nah, not even
Uh,
close. I did play a lot of Wildlands, though.
I played a
That
lot
one
of Wildlands
I played
too.
a lot of.
Yeah,
And
the
then
PV.
the cool thing was, like, they brought in, like, the different skins, not just the different skins, but the different stories. So, for instance, Predator. You remember how
Mm.
you had to go and kill the Predator?
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. That was cool.
I guess the question is Ubi dead? Will they ever make another game that's going to be like this is the top, this is the peak of gaming?
Well, I mean, I don't
The
know. I mean,
peak. The peak of gaming. Like that's what needs to be understood and what was lost. Ubi was dropping titles that were the top of gaming.
yeah, they
Like
were.
there is nothing better than this on the market. This is the best game to ever exist, to ever be made, is
Rainbow
what Ubi
Six
used to
was
do.
like before all of the other bullshit Rainbow Six Raven Shield was like the prime example of like peak of the line. Ubisoft was like just blowing everybody away as far as gaming goes. Like even Call of Duty couldn't even touch Raven Shield at that point. I'm sorry. Like I played the shit out of Rainbow Six. I mean, I literally started off on the first Ubisoft game I ever played was Rainbow Six, the first one. Like where you literally took your team and you moved them and you had to like, do the whole like you had team A, team B, team C or whatever, Alpha, Delta, Charlie, whatever. And like you had to actually have them move into position for like it was incredible. It was
It was a
absolutely incredible.
strategy game on top
It
of it,
was a strategy game,
and it
which I
was
would love for them. If you're out there, Ubisoft, make that fucking game again. Thank
yeah.
you.
They're not gonna,
I
because it
know.
takes more effort and thought to make this cool strategy game, and along with those games at the same time around that era was those first couple Navy SEALs games, which were awesome.
SOCOM.
We could actually, yeah, SOCOM, where you could actually
Oh,
talk to them,
that was the
and
very first time you could actually talk to people was PlayStation 2 SOCOM.
yeah,
SOCOM, and you had to had a special headset and everything, dude. That's
yep,
actually where I got my nickname from was from SOCOM.
yeah. Uh, and those first SOCOM games were dope as well. Like those were so fun because you could do, and the AI in that game were about as smart as dogs. Uh, which that was enough. It was still hilarious. Like
It was
you'd say
awesome.
you'd say Alpha stealth to Bravo, and you'd look at them and they're like getting up and down next to you. All right, sir, I'm going. And it was an all-star studded cast too. It had a bunch of big names that were cast members. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but star-studded voice acting cast, uh, and just really cool, innovative gameplay. Felt again really powerful, really apex predatory.
Yeah,
You could play the same part over and over and over, and it was interesting every time
yeah,
because you always felt like there might have been a cooler way to have pulled that off.
yeah.
Because you could be so efficient and so stealthy, like line them up, get a headshots all at the same time,
Yep.
and moving through really efficient, really deadly, really accurate, and it was so satisfying. I haven't
Oh
played
my
anything
gosh.
like that recently, where the
No.
satisfaction is that high. We were like, oh yeah, this is some good killing right here. Like there's been
It's
nothing
been a
like
long
that.
time.
Far Cry has some pretty good killing. I like the aspect of Far Cry of the recon part of it where you roll up on a location and you scout the area first
Yeah.
and you can kind of ping everyone and you kind of see your little area and say, "Oh, okay, there's like 7 to 10 guys like okay, I see 7 guys rolling around." And then you can plot your attack kind of from a distance before you go in is the cool part of Far Cry for me where but again, it's just not there's nothing deep. There's no good stories.
Yeah.
It's because all those things are take more money and time and are more difficult to achieve, so no one does it. They're like, we just slam out this sandbox and dump people in it, and they'll pay $70 for it.
Yep. Pretty
So
much.
stop buying this is the call to action is stop buying all this shit, everybody.
Stop
Like,
buying it.
and I guess that's the hard thing to tell the younger generation that's never played a game before. Because if you're like 12 and you get your first PlayStation 5 and you load up Assassin's Creed Valhalla, your mind will be blown how cool that game is.
Graphics are phenomenal.
Yeah, and if you've never played a game before, if you've never encountered an RPG that's good,
Yeah.
that's why they keep outselling is because and maybe we're supposed to be phased out at this point. Like
Yeah.
maybe we're the dumb ones for thinking that at our age anything is relevant to us
Right?
because we are not the target market for anything. We're not the money spenders.
Yeah.
Like 14-year-old girls are the ones that spend the most money.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what everyone's trying to market to. No one cares about like the jaded 40-year-old gamer and what he wants from a game. But I think this is folly. Like we matter, damn it. And there's more
We
and
do
more of
matter.
us. There's more and more of us old gamers every year. So the market
Exactly.
for us grows. More of us enter this older era of gamers every year, and there's a market for us.
Absolutely.
Please make a game that we care about. Like it would be nice.
From
Uh, from From's making good games. We can't say they're not making good games.
they're about the one of the only ones
Yep.
that actually are making games for us.
Right. But that's a whole other couple hours of rant. So I mean,
Absolutely.
that's about 2 hours, dude.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
been good,
hour.
man.
That's only an hour and a 15. Okay, so we can talk a little bit more. What
Oh
else?
wow.
I guess we didn't get started until late.
That's
Uh,
true. That's true.
well, we went through the whole Ubi era and everything. Uh,
I
I
mean,
don't.
Ubi was a big part of my life. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it sounded like it was for you too. Like,
Well,
you
and the
know.
same thing happened with EA too. There was a period where EA made all the best games as well. I
Yep.
remember a moment where I looked also at my game list and was like, oh, I'm playing all EA games this year. Like I had 4 EA titles, and it's like, oh, this is all I'm playing is different EA games.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what they were off the top of my head anymore. Uh, but it was like back when Madden was good.
Oh,
Um,
you're talking sports games in
huh?
general or just EA?
Yeah, like all the different sports games. There was like Fight Nights and Maddens, and there was also other good EA like Dead Space,
Oh, Dead
all,
Space, yeah.
all the Dead Space series. People have people are mixed on Dead Space, and some people really didn't like the direction they went with it. But I don't understand any of it. I thought like people didn't like that it went away from horror. I guess there was a lot of like deep horror fans that they were like finally a game for us
Yeah,
with the first one. Because so on Dead Space is a great series overall, and there is a new game by the creator of Dead Space coming out. I forget the name of it, but it looks awesome so far.
yeah,
He's 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 rebooted it. That's what I mean. He's done the right thing. He put Dead Space to bed. He's doing a whole new title, whole new name. It still is this weird, wild, like abomination kind of
yeah.
creatures.
So is that would be similar to like Outer World essentially, where the guys from the original Fallout, they put Fallout to bed, but they created Outer World or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bethesda's still running with Fallout, right?
Yeah, no, Outer World's a complete is owned by what are they called? Uh
Activision.
no, it's not Activision. What
Bethesda's own Microsoft.
yeah, but Outer World isn't owned by
Oh, no, Outer Worlds, yeah. Those are the original
they're the
Fallout
original
3
Fallout.
guys.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't think of their
and
name now.
I gotta say, I didn't like Outer World. It was too Fallouty.
Exactly, but they didn't call it Fallout. They didn't call it
Yeah,
Fallout. They were trying to create something new, but they were trying to bring back
but they
the
didn't.
old
But yeah, that's my beef though. They didn't create something new. They
they were
made
trying to
Fallout.
create they were trying to create a different Fallout, basically, is what
Yeah,
happened.
and the problem was is I already played too much Fallout. Like
I think
from
we've all played too much
3,
Fallout.
yeah, God, if you're a gamer, you've already played too much Fallout because Fallout was the shit.
Fallout was the
Like
shit.
my favorite moment of Fallout, and I'm sure almost everyone had this moment in Fallout, is when you were confronted with strange meat. And you in the back of your head, you're like, "That's human meat."
That's
And
exactly the
and then
back.
there's a moment where it's like, "Eat it," and you got to make that call. Is it morally okay to cannibalize in a digital world? And that's the differentiator between people. If you ate the strange meat in Fallout, you're gross. I don't care if that is in a digital world. You shouldn't be cannibalizing even in the digital world. You're
Right?
nasty. You're a
Yeah.
nasty mofo if you ate the strange meat with your character. And I think there's consequences too. I never ate the strange meat, but I remember like somebody telling me that like they got sick or something, and I was like, "It serves you right, you sicko. What are you doing?"
Ollie Cuddlesworth,
It's probably yeah, probably Cuddlesworth that ate the
wh-
strange meat.
which got his name from Mr. Cuddlesworth from Fallout.
Yeah. Uh yeah, Fallout was dope and
Fallout was dope.
tons of dope lore in Fallout. That's another long, long conversation. I mean, you could
Oh
talk
God,
about
yeah.
Fallout for forever, but we'll just say everybody knows why Fallout's dope and why it was the king. But again, we're in this the bubble has burst and now there's a bunch of losers in charge of all these games.
Well, I feel like they're trying to trick us essentially with these games. You know, they bring out these beautiful cinematics and you're like, "Oh my god." And then it's just like, "What the hell? What am I playing?"
I mean, what are the chances start what's the newest game? Starfield?
Starfield? Is that the newest?
What's the name? Starfield. So
Starfield.
Starfield's the new one coming out where it's Fallout-ish in outer space, customizable jets.
Ooh.
Uh, there was a lot of trash being talked on the reveal trailer, though, where they kind of revealed some gameplay and revealed some mechanics. And I agree with most of the worries
Yeah.
that were expressed by the people. And it seems that no one gives a shit.
Who makes
Is
Starfield? Is it Bethesda?
Bethesda, yeah. And
Yeah.
there's a chance the game could be good. I'm not writing it all the way off, but what they showed so far didn't look amazing. It didn't look intriguing. It really looked like no one gives a shit
Yeah.
and no one's thinking intelligently about games, which I don't know how that's possible. How is it possible at this billion-dollar company that has these incredible titles at your disposal that you're not thinking about these titles carefully and with gamers in mind? Uh,
Incredible
and
artist as well.
and maybe again, it's just because we're jaded and we're not the target market. Like we don't care that you want a deep and interesting game. We're doing this for 12-year-old Jimmy who's going to play Starfield for the first time and have his little mind blown
What
because he
about
hasn't.
Star Wars?
What
I mean,
about Star Wars?
we were on EA. Like, what
Yeah.
about Jedi? I mean, uh,
D I don't know if they're doing another iteration. I think
they
they
are
got
actually.
they took it away from Respawn, I thought.
Did they take it from Respawn? That's probably why they're doing it too, but they took it away from Respawn because Respawn made them
Made it too good.
made it too good. Exactly, it made it too good.
How dare you show us up, Respawn. Oof. Give it. Give it.
Give
And
it
EA
to
just
us.
snatched it back. We'll turn this back into the shit pile it should be.
Well, you remember what they said at the same time when it first came out. The CEO of EA came out was like in a stock. It was a meeting or whatever, and he was like, "People don't want to play games by themselves anymore. They want online multiplayer. You know, mass
Yeah, he said
multiplayer."
yeah, what's the word?
What was it?
Uh the word is it's the keyword for what all the EA's format is. It's the live play or shit. Uh I can't believe I can't think of
Is it
the
live
word.
play? Live play?
No, I'm screwing it up. It's on not on demand, but shit, I can't think of the keyword.
Yeah, but
But yeah, he came out and said all these untrue statements, and that's what the same thing I was talking about. It's just losers that get
yep.
these jobs because they're rich kids growing up, and they go to their little hoity-toity colleges with all their rich friends, and they're in a frat or something, and their homie in the frat's like, "Oh, dude, I head up marketing at EA. Come on over, Brad." And then Brad is in charge, and Brad doesn't even play. Brad doesn't play games because Brad's Chad
Yeah,
and Chads don't play games, but they do have big time marketing jobs, bro. Where we'll decide what's going to make a cajillion dollars,
yeah.
and so there's a bunch of Chads and Tracys in there. We'll call the female version of Tracy.
Crazy.
Chads and Tracys that never played a game in their life that are making all the decisions on these games.
Hmm.
Um,
And that's
and
sad.
it is sad. And so the Starfield, I want it to be good. I do. I want it. I want it to be good. But when they talk about Fallout 4 is the purely online one, right?
No, 76.
That's 76. Fallout 76, 5, basically.
Hmm.
So Fallout 76, 5 was one of the worst games ever. And
Yeah.
there's a huge group of people that play that with mods, and I can understand that if you're playing it modded, you've cleaned up a lot of the dumpiness of it and
Yep.
probably fixed the quests and all that kind of stuff, so you made it playable. But if you play that game without mods, that's another one like, what's wrong with you? That's a
Yeah.
dumpiest game ever, the most uninteresting quests, the crappiest lore, and they
It's
talk about
bad.
that game like nothing's wrong with it. Like,
I
oh, it's
don't know
great.
how.
It's great. It sells so much. It's great. We have a huge player base, all this, and it's crap. And so when there's no accountability for making a bad game, they're going to continue to make bad games.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm guessing Starfield's going to be pretty bad. I hope it's not, but if I had to bet on it, I'm going to say
It's gonna be
Starfield's
pretty
going to
bad,
be hot garbage.
probably.
With it'll look good. Since the artists always kick ass. Shout out all the artists at all these companies. We're not talking about you at all. You guys
No.
are all
Yeah,
killing it.
you guys kill
You,
it.
you guys do hard jobs with a lot of labor, a lot of technical issues, and you crush and you crunch. And everyone that works on these games, from the art departments and even coding departments, are you guys are killing it.
Yeah.
Game designers, you guys suck. You guys suck bad. Um,
Uh,
and I don't know if it's all your fault or whatever. I'm not sure of the exact hierarchy dynamic of who's making the ultimate decisions of what these games are supposed to be and what the quest lines are supposed to be like and how much leeway you actually have,
yeah.
what guardrails are put up that you have to work within. Because I'm sure if there's a lot of that going on, but really just awful job in general from all these companies. And maybe it's a legacy thing where a lot of these guys are like, well, I worked on blah blah blah, and that's why I'm in charge of this other huge game, and they're just failing upward
Yeah.
because again, That's what's been happening is the quality of games has been going down and sales is going up. So you
Yeah,
could have worked progressively and done a worse and worse job at your job with higher and higher sales on your resume.
yeah,
What an interesting career. You
right,
can I wish my career was like that, where I could do worse year on year and make more and more money.
right.
Like, I guess you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Uh, like more power to you. But hey,
Hey,
maybe try a little bit so we have something cool to play.
right?
Uh, and yeah, that's EA is going about to come out with a new college football game again next year. And I should be hyped on it because I was a huge college football EA fan. I still play NCAA 14 every weekend, and it's gonna suck. I'm pretty sure they're gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna withhold that judgment. Actually, there's the chance they're gonna put together a whole new team because the Madden team obviously can't make that team as well, game as
Yeah,
well. So whoever is on that team, there's a chance that those people care and that they're going to make a better football game than Madden. Because that's what happened in the past. There used to be a guy in charge. His name escapes me because it was so long ago. But he was a football head and he cared about college football and cared about making a game that was better than Madden. I remember seeing an interview with him where he was like, yeah, we want to make a better game than Madden every year. And they did. They did year
did.
on year. NCAA was a cleaner and more polished and less buggy game than Madden. And if they pull that off now, whoo, that would be just a breath of fresh air in the pile of shit that they dump on us.
Yeah. I don't think there's
And
gonna be any ultimate team for
no, there
college
is.
football. Oh, there
It
is a
is.
college.
Well, and
Oh
that's
my
why I have
god.
doubts already. They already said that, and it was like, oh, this is going to be a dumpster fire.
How the hell do you make an ultimate team for college football? Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
That's what I was talking with Russ about. Is that co- yeah, they'll bring in all the old players and like
Oh, jeez. Okay.
and but college already is ultimate team. Every year you graduate a bunch of
Yeah,
people and you have to refill the roster.
exactly.
But I don't know. We're speculating too much, but we're speculating based off what we see in front of us
When's it coming
in
out?
November or 2024,
Holy shit.
July 2024,
Wow.
23. Oh, July 23. Oh, so next year. Okay.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So,
So the only games that are coming out that I know of right now is literally Skull and Bones, which I just saw.
so yeah, let's circle back and close that loop. So that's
Yeah.
why we got in the Assassin's Creed conversation to begin with. So
Yeah.
based on the Black Flag engine, they talked about making this kick-ass multiplayer pirate game where you're basically a pirate in the Black Flag engine.
Mhm.
Is what it looked like the initial, and we hadn't seen anything from this game in 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But apparently, it's coming out in November now.
Oh.
So I think this is my prediction for it is that I think it's going to be fun to play. It'll have
Mhm.
fun battles, and because ship battles are fun, and but I think there's going to be no depth to the multiplayer. I think
Mhm.
it's going to have these like super shallow RPG tasks, like sail over here and get this thing, and then sail back, and
Mhm.
that's all it's going to be. Period. Which will hold your interest for 30 hours ish on a good day.
Yeah.
On a good day, 30 hours ish.
Yeah.
For me, 10 hours max, maybe if the fight game, if the ship battles was fun. I might give it 2 sessions and then be like, all right, I'm not gonna go sail from A to B 1,000 more times to level up my
Right.
boat or whatever. Because there's gonna be microtransactions.
Yo.
There's gonna be, oh, you don't want to sail back and forth 1,000 times to get the new battering ram for your boat? Well, you can just buy it right here for $15. And that's foul and gross and should be legal. So
I
I'm not doing
agree.
that. And I'm guessing, I'm a prophet, I guess, in the video. I'm guessing that's going to be the reviews that come out are going to say exactly that. Is
Yeah.
like, oh, this game is pretty fun, but eh, all these microtransactions and crap and bad interface and you know,
Mhm.
buggy multiplayer components
Oh god,
dropped
yeah.
from servers and microtransactions everywhere in your face because that's what they care about and that's what they do. But
That's Ubisoft in a box right there. You just
yeah,
you
that's
just put a
that's
bow
that's
on it,
EA
man.
too. That's
Yep.
EA too. And I wonder if the gaming industry is too big for like another rogue upstart to make a splash on the scene and change the game. And that From's kind of doing that
From is
with
doing that, yeah, I
From
think.
is doing that with Dark Souls. And that's what was funny if you remember after Elden Ring came out, where all the developers were kind of talking trash on it. And it
Yeah.
was like,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
what
everyone
the
started
EA, the
making
best one.
memes.
Ubisoft one was the best one. They're like, oh, Ubisoft developers, and then somebody posted up a Ubisoft meme. What was it? It was they posted up the meme on them and showed like the Elder Scrolls like user
They put up
interface,
the
and
yeah,
they
they put
threw
up the interface
and they
of
threw
a Ubi
Assassin's
game.
Creed. Yeah, they threw Assassin's Creed over the top of it. And it was like,
Yeah,
yeah, so
shows
good.
you what garbage game where they tell you how to do every little thing. And the best thing about From games is, I don't want to go too deep into From because that deserves its own
Oh
discussion on
God,
its
yeah,
own.
absolutely.
But the best thing about From is kind of what we've been calling out on these other companies is From is thoughtful. They
Yeah.
think through things from a gamer's perspective and they know what makes gaming fun and they do their best to give that to you. Do they fall short sometimes? Sure.
Yeah,
But they've made the effort and you can tell they've made the effort.
absolutely.
Whereas all these other companies, it's 100% obvious. You're like, oh, you didn't try at all. You didn't even try. You didn't even give the effort. Like
Yeah.
it was the effort was to even complete this thing under your ridiculous budget and timeline. That was where all the effort happened. Was to crunch these artists till they were almost dead, or do kill themselves in some cases,
Yeah.
literally, and literally working people to death and suicide to make these dumpster fire games under such tight budget restrictions and timelines that to churn something out and mass market it till little 12-year-old Bobby buys it.
Mhm.
uh God,
Yeah. Well, like, From is
the game industry
definitely
makes me so angry. It's so dark so quick. It's
it
all
gets
bleak.
dark,
We're in a desert and it's dark and the sun never comes up.
right?
Except there's a little inkling of light from in the distance.
That's about it.
They give us a couple of sweet games to play for some of our time. I mean, there's some funny moments of Doctor Disrespect just screaming, "Where are all the games? Where are all the games?"
I mean,
He's making a game, a
is he
Tarkov,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
Tarkov
nice.
style
Hell yeah.
shooter.
That's what's up.
Uh, yeah, I don't know what's up with the development of that. I'm
It's
sure.
an open. If you buy the NFT, then they let you play it like every quarter.
It's an NFT sale. NFT sale. He's gonna have NFTs in the game and Tarkov. And if you buy the NFT now, you'll get play tests every
Oh,
quarter.
nice.
Yep. So Dr. Disrespect is a dude who knows his games and seems to know what's fun about games. So this will be really cool to see just what we're stopping talking about. Is there a rogue chance for a rogue upstart to kind of break the mold and force these other companies to have to follow suit? Because that's the thing with games. If you make a shooter that's superior to everything else, everyone will leave these other games and come flooding into your game.
Yeah.
Um, we see that with. I mean, there's only two shooters people or three shooters people play now. I guess that's not true. Four. You have Call of Duty for everyone's broke, and Fortnite for little kids.
Yep.
Fortnite for little kids and immature adults. You have Call of Duty for people that are broke. You have Rainbow Six if you have a aimbot, and then you have Tarkov if you're a real one.
Don't forget Apex Legends too.
Oh, and Apex Legends is the other real one. So sorry. So there's five.
Yeah.
Five. Yeah.
I mean,
Apex Legends.
Battlefield came out, but Battlefield is not good.
Battlefield's not on the list. Yeah.
Not good. Not good.
Battlefield's not on the list. So it's Fortnite if you're a child or an immature adult. It's Call of Duty if you're broke. If it's Apex Legends if you only have a console but you're a real one. And it's Rainbow Six if you have an aimbot, and then Tarkov if you're like a super shooter head,
Rainbow
super head,
Six.
super head
Rainbow Six,
shooter, I
though,
should say.
like the people in Rainbow Six are crazy
They're
because
cheaters. That's what
they,
they are. They're not
yeah,
crazy. They're cheating.
are they?
Yeah, they're cheating. It's
Damn.
filled with a bunch of cheaters because it's a dumpy Ubi game where they don't check anything, they don't fix anything, they don't care if you're cheating. They just
Have
want you
you,
to buy
oh,
it.
but like CS:GO and stuff, like now Steam has come in and they straight up just ban people for life now for cheating in CS:GO.
Good. All you cheaters, you should be banned. How dare you? How dare you sully the video game universe? How dare you sully these sacred competition arenas with your BS aimbots and wall hacks?
Right?
Should be banned from using any
Same with
electronic
Twitch. Yeah,
devices.
you Twitchers too that are all cheaters and stuff. Like you shouldn't
Yeah.
even be. Don't call yourself a
Shame.
gamer. I'm sorry. Don't call yourself a gamer. Like
Shame.
I'll tell you that to your face too. Like
Shame.
shame.
Shame. That's what everyone should start going and type in their chats. Just shame over and over, like the
Straight
Game of
up, man.
Thrones shame
Seriously.
watch. Did you watch the first Game of Thrones? The
I
new one?
haven't seen it. No,
It's
haven't
it's
seen it
pretty
yet.
pretty good so far.
Is it?
Pretty good.
So is it worth grabbing HBO for the time being?
Nah, bootleg it. That's what the main HBO guy said. Is he said he don't care if you bootleg it because it just makes
Oh
more
well,
fans of
shit. There
HBO.
you go. There we go. All right.
That's a statement I can get behind.
That's a, that's a statement I can get behind too, man.
Yeah, yeah. He said he straight up said, I don't care if people pirate it because it just makes more fans of HBO.
Right? Hey,
Um,
whatever's
the,
clever, man.
yep. If you can afford it, go ahead and get your HBO subscription. If you can't, there's many other ways. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out then. Shoot me and it'll probably be me and the lady we'll have to watch it.
Yep. All right. Well, now let's wrap it.
That sounds good.
That was a good long talk on video games,
Likewise, man.
and yeah, thank you so much for coming on again, man.
Likewise, anytime.
Appreciate you making the time. And if anybody out there watching, please smash that like button, share it if you would, and subscribe if you're really an amazing person. We really could use any help that you want to give us on any of the social media. You can find us all over the place: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and we'll be doing the same thing next Sunday as well. So everyone have a good work week ahead and enjoy the rest of your night.
Peace.